Are we in a housing bubble? I don't believe we're in a housing bubble. Here are a few reasons why, and if those of you are listening say, well, of course he doesn't believe we're in a housing bubble. He is a real estate broker. He makes his living selling houses. Yes, but the reality is that I wouldn't tell you I didn't think we were in a housing bubble. If I did think we were in a housing bubble, I would try to help you protect yourself and your family's finances from the housing bubble. Reality is today houses are not unaffordable like they were during the housing boom. Now, affordability doesn't just consider the home price, it also considers wages earned by the purchaser and mortgage rates. So it's a combination of the price of the home, the average income of home purchasers, and the mortgage interest rate. 15 years ago, prices were high, wages were low, and mortgage interest rates were over 6%. Today, prices are still high. Wages, however, have increased, and the mortgage rate, even after the recent spike, is still well below 6%. That means the average purchaser today pays less of their monthly income toward their mortgage payment than they did back then. 2007, the average purchaser of a home spent 34.1% of their income to pay their housing cost, principal and interest. In 2007, 34.1%. The normal lending standard is to keep your household or housing monthly principal and interest payments to no more than 28% of your income. Today, and this is according to Black Knight, the average home purchaser in America spends 25.8% of their income, significantly below the 34.1% in 2007 and the normal lending standards of 28%. The next thing I want to discuss is mortgage standards were much more relaxed during the housing boom that led to the recession. They're much stricter today. Mortgage standards are really nothing like they were last time. Purchasers that acquired a mortgage over the last decade are much more qualified. Well, what does that mean? If we take a look at loans made to people with credit scores below 620, in 2006, there were $380 billion worth of loans made to home buyers who had credit scores of less than 620. And if you're listening and you have a low credit score, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with you. Not saying that at all. I'm just saying that in general, people with lower credit scores tend to be a higher risk than people with higher credit scores, as proven by their credit score. In 2021, there were between $70 and $80 billion in loans made to people with a credit score of 620 or below. So it went from $380 million down to $80 million. The reality is there is much less risk of having homeowners default on their loans. And with the significant equity gain, I mean, we just read something in the second or first segment, says the average equity gain in a home throughout the U.S. this past year was $56,000. That's 56,000 more reasons that a homeowner is not going to let a bank take away their home. When you have equity in your home, you have options. You can do things you want. The foreclosure situation is nothing like it was during the crash. As I mentioned, people have a lot more equity in their home. People say there is going to be a foreclosure crisis coming, and I don't believe that. In 2009, there were over 2 million. Let that sink in just a second. 2 million foreclosures in the United States in 2009. 2 million. 2 million families' lives just turned upside down. I'm not saying they deserve it or that they didn't deserve it or they could have made the payments or they couldn't make the payments. I'm not standing in judgment of that. I'm saying 2 million families had their lives turned upside down because they had their house taken away from them by their bank. In 2020, there was 129,000 foreclosures. In 2021, certainly because of the moratorium put in place because of the pandemic, there was 38,000 foreclosures. We are nowhere near where we were leading up to the crash, and we don't have a surplus of houses available for sale. Now, what does that mean, a surplus? It's not like you buy houses and you judge inventory the same way you would go into a grocery store and say, well, if I need 12 boxes of cereal and I have 12 buyers, then I have the right number of cereal for buyers. Well, the reality is that's exactly the way housing supplies work. So back in 2009, there was 7.3 months worth of inventory. 2007, there were 9.6 months worth of inventory. 2010, there were 8.5 months worth of inventory. In 2018, there were 3.7 months. In 2019, 3 months. In 2020, 1.9 months. In 2021, 1.8 months.